original railroad, the Atlantic and St. Lawrence, started in Portland in 1845. By the time of its completion in 1853, the railroad had reached the Canadian border at Norton, Vermont. Around the same time, the St. Lawrence and Atlantic Railroad was formed out of Montreal, Quebec, and was tasked with building the railroad all the way to Island Pond, Vermont. The halfway point of this entire line would end up in Berlin, New Hampshire. Berlin would be one of the most active spots on the entire line, having several industries such as the paper mill, Converse shoe, and Isaacson Steel. Isaacson Steel lasted the longest of the three, all the way to 2012. Isaacson Steel then became Presby R&D Manufacturing, the company that still occupies that spot to this day. Although it was not the longest running industry in town, the Berlin paper mill, at its peak, employed 3,700 people. But the question now is, how did the paper mill get its products to the railroads? The easiest way they could, of course, by having their own railroad company, Berlin Mills Railway. The Berlin Mills Railway survived until the late 1990s. When the late 1990s rolled around, Berlin Mills Railway would get absorbed by the newly formed St. Lawrence and Atlantic Railway. This was a new company operating under the same name as the original. Fast forward to now, the railroad has now officially taken over all of the track originally built by the Atlantic and St. Lawrence and the St. Lawrence and Atlantic, all the way back in the 1800s. Now some of you may be wondering, how long would it take to travel this distance? Well, the distance covered by this railroad is equal to going back and forth between Berlin and Gorham, New Hampshire 20 times. Now, where are we on this giant map? Well, if you look at New Hampshire, we are this tiny little horseshoe-shaped curve right here in the middle of the screen. And for a little bit more detail, here's where we are exactly. So now, in a few seconds, I'm going to start zooming back out and give the true scale of how large this rail line truly is. So now, let's take a look at what railroading used to be like on that little horseshoe.
When I was a boy, in the days of the train, I'd sit by the tracks on a long summer day, and I'd wave to the brakeman, and he'd wave back at me, while the thunderclouds roll out of East Tennessee. But the dreams of a boy disappear when you're grown, and though I may dream, the railroads are gone. The ties, they are rotted, and the track shot to hell, along with my dreams and the old railroad bell. In my dreams I'd ride the rails to California, working diners and farms along the way, or I'd hop a ride to hide across the border, with the black-eyed girl beside me all the way. Now the mountains are silent, and the railroads are gone, and the coal towns no longer hear the miners at dawn. But the train whistle shrills out of memories to me, while the thunderclouds roll out of East Tennessee. In my dreams I'd ride the rails to California, working diners and farms along the way, or I'd hop a ride to hide across the border, with the black-eyed girl beside beside me all the way. Now the mountains are silent, and the railroads are gone, and the coal towns no longer hear the miners at dawn. But the train whistle shrills out of memories to me, while the thunder clouds roll out of East Tennessee.